Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to try to challenge ourselves to be more than mediocre. So, let me tell you what we're doing. So we've got this wagon and we've got all these boxes from American Powertrain, and we're going to stick a 6-speed transmission install kit into what is currently a 3-speed automatic 72 Chevelle Wagon. So how are we pushing ourselves to not be mediocre? Today is Sunday. It is just after 1500, so about 3 o'clock on the East Coast, and I have a full week of work to do, and we're going to try to have this done by Friday because I got another car coming in that needs this lift. So we're going to see how close we can get before Friday, and we better be done. The only other challenge is it's only about 100 degrees in here today. So it's going to be a real comfortable working environment, but we're going to get after it. So I haven't started anything yet. I'm going to get this thing up in the air, rip the old transmission out, and I'll start showing you guys what we have to do from there. But it'll be interesting from your perspective because, like I said, this is a 2-pedal automatic car, and we're going to make it a 3-pedal manual. So we're going to have to touch a whole bunch of stuff. We're not using mechanical linkages. This is going to use hydraulic slave cylinder. So we got to fabricate some mounting brackets and stuff for that. I've got a cross member that's going to work. We're going to have to cut a giant hole in the floor to make all this work, and then build our own transmission tunnel. Yeah, so it should be a good time. So here we go. Okay guys, let's try this again. So as you can see, it's day 2. It's a new day and a new shirt. So yesterday I was able to get the old transmission out, and what that involved obviously is you got to take the old drive shaft out. I had to take this header out so that I could get the transmission out. I removed the old flex plate and I installed the flywheel. It's pretty simple. It's sort of a press-on interference fit. So get it up there, you thread the bolts in. The American Powertrain kit I got comes with new flywheel, new bolts, ARP bolts specifically, and then all the grease and everything you need to install them. So I got those installed. They're torqued down to 75 foot-pounds, and I've got my bell housing in. So the next step, as you can start to see, is this is not going to fit, right? So depending on what you've got, it might fit, right? I've seen, unfortunately, I'm into A-bodies, and A-bodies just were not designed with enough clearance to make something like this work. So what we're going to have to do is come in here and clearance the floor. They sell a patch panel that comes with it, but in my experience, it's not enough material to really give you the clearance you need around in here. So I've got this installed to start getting a sense for what I've got to cut out of here, and then I can also, now that this is on, I can index the bell housing. And what that means is, think about it in terms of two-dimensional space, vertically and horizontally. What you do is you get the bell housing installed, and then you need to get an indexing plate. It does not come with the kit. You have to get this separately. This goes up here and mounts to the bell housing. Once it's installed, I made my own marks: 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. And you're going to put a dial indicator on there, and you're going to measure the run out of that indicator at these positions and figure out where your bell housing is located with respect to the center of the crankshaft. So why does that matter? The Tremec transmission cannot take any, if it can, very little, vertical or horizontal loading in this case, right? And what that means is, if I apply a force to it this way or in a direction, that's going to wear out the bearings on the input shaft, and you're going to destroy that transmission. So like I said, this does not come with the transmission and all the other things. I'm sure it would if I asked him. I didn't think to ask him. I bought this off Amazon. I think it was like 40 bucks, and it mounts right to the bell housing. So here's the first problem we run into, though, right? Every time I've done this, I've done it because I have a lift. I've done it with the body off the car, right? And that makes things a lot easier, as you can imagine. But the problem you run into here is I can't get that up there, right? It's hitting the floor already. I can get this one installed. There's enough clearance on this side, but the way that the transmission tunnel is, the transmission's biased towards the driver's side a little bit, so I can't get it. I can't get it up there. So that leads us to the first question, right? Do we start hacking up the floor now, or do we just take a little bit of corner off this guy, right? I'm more inclined to take a corner off this plate, right? As to me, it's not it's made out of aluminum, right? It's not all that structurally sound. I just need it to mount, right? I don't care if I have to lop this side off. So that's what I'm going to do in my case, because I don't want to end up cutting a giant chunk of floor out here to just needlessly have to put the same metal back in, right? I only want to do the job once. So I think that's what I've talked myself into doing. At least that's the story I'm telling myself anyways. But then, again, once that's in, I can index it and make sure it's centered. And what you do is you take these readings, they give you a worksheet to fill out, right? You fill out those worksheets and you do a calculation and figure out if it's either horizontally or vertically out of place. And what it'll normally be, let's say it's offset this way and a little bit vertically. I would have a component this way, right? And they sell what's called offset dowel pins, excuse me. And those little locating pins on the back of the block, right? Those have either straight up or offset configurations, and I think they only come in 3 sizes: straight up, and then a couple thousandths, and then a next increment up. What happens if your bell housing is not perfectly centered is you have to get some offset pins. You got to figure out which direction you need to offset it. You knock the old pins out, you stick the new ones in. You know, Bob's your uncle. Now you've got a bell housing that is now centered on the crank shaft. Now, some lessons learned from before doing this, right? You want to install all of the bell housing bolts and torque them down the way that you're supposed to, so that this bell housing is sitting on this as it will when it's fully installed. If you just do this with a couple bolts and it's sort of loose, it's going to throw off your readings, and it's going to make your life more difficult following, on the following steps, right? So when I do that, I will show you guys how we do that, or at least how I do that. And I'm like I said, I'm just following the instructions to the letter. With a different bell housing, if it's a more round bell housing, right? Let's say you're putting a a 4-speed Muncie in here or a Saginaw, it has a round bell housing, and you can index it with that bell housing. But this Tremec bell housing, you can see it's not round. It's got a bunch of funny shapes to it, right? It would be impossible to index that unless you knew like the relationship between this point and the center of the bell housing, right? So there is a way you could do that. I don't know that information, so I use this adapter plate. What else? Once you've got it indexed and everything, that's when I would worry about sticking your pilot bearing in, putting the clutch assembly on for the last time. Then you can throw your bell housing in and you're done. I think that's it. Now, the other thing I will say is it's got some... it's kind of funny. So I've done this a couple of times now, and the difference between this bell housing and the one I just did is kind of funny. The one I just did had a bunch of holes in the side of the bell housing. You know, you can see the ones here. These are for passing through the hydraulic lines for the throwout bearing or the slave cylinder. But the other one I installed on my Chevelle has a bunch of holes, and I thought it was kind of funny, so I emailed the guys at American Powertrain. Sorry about the rain. Try to talk over it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, those holes aren't a big problem unless you're like driving down dirt roads." So I was worried about debris coming in and getting in there with my flywheel and clutch and making it a bad day. But I see this one doesn't have any of those holes, so that's interesting. What else? I think that's it. As you can see, I'm using the lift for this. Could you do it without one? Probably. It would be a little bit more difficult. I wouldn't want to do this laying on my back. I prefer standing up. What else? I think that's it, man. So let's get busy living, get busy dying. Okay. So when the day comes and you finally get your magical box, right? This is how the Tremec gets shipped. And in here is one of the most important things, right? This is all the instructions, right? Maybe I could say it right a few more times, huh? The cool thing about American Powertrain that I like is that when you order the transmission, everything's under warranty. But the warranty period doesn't start until you send them the sheet to order your drive shaft. So if you get it and it sits in your garage for 2 years, no big deal. Your warranty didn't expire while it was sitting in the box, right? Your warranty expires, you know, at whatever time period is that you pay for after you order your drive shaft, which is kind of cool. And in here comes a packing list, right? So they tell you anything that was shipped separately. In this case, when I bought the transmission, my flywheel and the shifter boot and the lever were not in stock. So in here it was like, hey, your flywheel, it's going to be drop shipped. It's going to be the shipping in 3 to 5 days. The shifter, lever, and the boot, it's on back order. 6 to 10 days was the estimated thing, and then they shipped it to me, right? And then, but if everything comes as it's supposed to, this sheet is not in here. And then what's going to be in your package for instructions is going to be specific to you and your application, right? So for me, I went all the way and I got a 6-speed transmission. I got mine. The first 3 gears are lower. You know, like the gear ratio is higher, so that I can have quick acceleration, and then there's a big jump to that 1-to-1 for 4th gear, and then it's got a very tall 6th gear. It's half to 1, right? Because I want to be able to cruise down the freeway 70, 75 miles an hour and not be flinging the big block like I'm running down the racetrack. And then I also got a hydraulic slave cylinder, so I've got instructions to set that up. It's the instructions on all this stuff is actually good. It comes with the sheet to tell you how to measure and the numbers they need for your drive shaft. So you'll fill this out, you fax it to them, and then they'll give you a confirmation back, and then in a few days they make the drive shaft and ship it to you. This is everything you need to know for the actual shifter mechanism. So the one I bought has the white lightning shifter. And then here is the specific instructions for the actual transmission itself. So the way this goes is you're going to start with this kit, It's going to tell you all the things you need to know. There's some things that, let me say this a different way. The one key from experience that I would say is read through all these instructions a couple of times before you start the install. Because what you don't want to find yourself in is a situation where you forget to do something, right? So I'll give you an example. I threw mine in my Chevelle for the first time, not really thinking about it. I got to a step in the instructions where it's like, hey, you need to torque down the bolts on the shifter plate. And I was like, oh, dang it. So I had to pull it back out, torque that down, and stick it back in. I also had a problem where I didn't torque it down properly in that sequence because I was in a rush. When I threw it back in, it was kind of hard to get it in certain gears. I talked to the guys at American Powertrain who are super helpful all the time. And they're like, hey, I think you misaligned your shifter plate a little bit, and that's what's giving you an issue. I pulled it back out, took it off, cleaned everything up, put it back together, and it worked like a charm. You also have to put a beta RTV around that to keep fluid in. It is shipped without fluid, obviously. The other thing that I noticed watching other people do it before I did it for the first time is a lot of guys screwed up and they were welding with the transmission in and they ended up burning this vent line. That's a bad day all around. What else? And that's it. I mean, for the most part, it's pretty simple. The way these come now, it actually is kind of awesome. Like, it's got the hookups for a mechanical speed out or an electronic, depending on what you want to do. It has a reverse lockout that you can wire into the brake, or you can get a speed-sensitive module to add on there where it's going to sense the output speed of the tail shaft of the transmission and lock out reverse unless you're below a certain speed. On the other car I did the brake option where you hit the brake pedal, it energizes the lockout, and you can now get it into reverse. Because these synchronized transmissions are so smooth, it would be real easy to go fifth instead of fifth to reverse, and that would be real bad. Obviously, we don't want to do that and blow apart our brand new transmission. What else? All the torque instructions and everything are in here. And the instructions are actually pretty detailed, right? So it tells you all the things that this 6-speed tunnel work is for. And so here's an example, right? So 70 to 81 GMF body, if you're putting this in, you rarely have to modify the transmission tunnel. Where you come down here to A body, 64 and up, you're always going to have to modify it. And then it says to replace it with the tunnel provided in the raised tunnel kit. And then you can see some of these other ones. If you got a 65 to 73 Mustang, sometimes you have to, not always. I wonder what drives that. I don't know really. And then you can go through all these instructions step by step. They always have, the way you're supposed to do this. The break-in, depending on what the clutch you bought, the torque specs for all the fittings and everything. And they even have a pretty good troubleshooting thing. So if you're having issues like fluid leaks, here's the things to check. Difficulty shifting is usually caused by improperly disengaging the clutch. One of two issues may be at fault. So it's actually pretty helpful. But like I said, every time I had to call American Powertrain before and ask a question, they were on top of it, gave me an answer right away, and told me exactly what to do. The other big thing is, and it says this in the instructions all over the place, you got to keep the box, right? If you ever have a warranty problem, they're going to say, hey, stick it back in that box that we sent it to you in and get it back to us. Okay, guys, as you can see, we've made some progress. We got a hole in the floor. We've got the bell housing installed again, and we are doing our run out, right? So everybody will show you how to do this, but nobody really shows you how the setup that they use to do it. But the basics that you need to know is you're trying to get total run out, both vertically and horizontally, right? So what I've got here is a magnet base with a digital readout, so that I can check at the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock for vertical run out, and then I'm doing 3 and 9 for horizontal run out. And what you want with a Tremec is 5 thousandths or less in either direction. So the way this works, you'll rotate it around. As you can see, we're at 9 o'clock, and on this, it says that we are 2 thousandths negative, right? Well, when we came around over here to 3 o'clock and measured it, it was negative. As you can see, I wrote it down right here. I've done this quite a few times to make sure it's good. So I've got 6 thousandths negative, right? So I take this bigger number, subtract that 2 thousandths, right? And what I get is I'm 4 thousandths negative. So I'm within the 5 thousandths, that's good enough. And then vertical, at 12 o'clock, I was at 4.5 thousandths. At 6 o'clock, I was at half a thousandth. So I do that subtraction here, and I'm 4 thousandths here as well. So you can see I'm good to go. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can do this, right? But if you just buy a standard dial caliper or dial indicator setup with a magnetic base, it doesn't always work real well. So let me show you what I have. So I'll put a link to this setup, but as you can see, it's adjustable here. It adjusts in the middle, and then it's got that adjustable pivot here. And the nice thing about this one is it lets you twist. It lets you twist how that's oriented, so that you can get the best setup for however you got to do it. But it's, you know, pretty easy. I got the dial one just because it's easier to read from farther away, so I can rotate this thing around and have like one of my kids will come out here and tell me what it is, and I can write it down. But when you do it from American Powertrain anyways, they want you to write all these numbers down and put it in the paperwork so that you know what you got going on. Okay guys, something I didn't explain that I want to. So I took all my measurements, and this is the form that comes from American Powertrain. You can see right here, this is the instructions. So these measurements we took, when you do that math, this is total indicated runout, right? So the thing you have to understand is when you look back here on the instructions, you see it tells you here's your runout, TIR, right? And then half is the number you're looking for. So see, in this case, they had 6 thousandths minus 21 thousandths. They did their math, that left them with a negative 15 thousandths total indicated runout. Half of that would be 75 thousandths, or 7.5 thousandths, excuse me, which is greater than the 5 thousandths that they're looking for, right? As you can see here, the Tremec total runout is 5 thousandths. So as you can see, when I did my math here, I wrote all these down because this is going to come into play with your warranty, like I said. So you're going to want to keep track of these, and you know, if you're like me and you got a couple of these, make sure you write down the vehicle that it's for. Hey guys, I want to give you a quick update of where I am. As you can see right now, we're working inside the car, working on the transmission tunnel, and I'll show you what we got going on. So here we go. So I wanted to do something a little fancier with this one. As you can see, I made a more squared off transmission tunnel. It's a little offset. It's not exactly where it's got to be yet, but that's about roughly where it'll go. I need to make a little bit more clearance up there for the gas pedal, so everything works out. And then a problem I've run into before on these when I made it round is I couldn't get it back. Couldn't get the transmission back out without taking the body off because I made it too close. So for this one, I made it in 2 pieces, and as you can see, I used an air nibbler to give it this lip here. So I'm going to be able to slide this on here, and then I haven't decided. I'm going to see how the clearances look when I'm all done. I may make this piece removable in case I need to get it something on the transmission. It will help me get at the bolts and everything way easier. So once I have this piece installed and I got the transmission back in here and I go to install this piece, that's when I'm going to figure out whether I want it to be permanent or not. But that's how it's coming together. This is roughly where the shifter is going to come out. I still have to fold these pieces, as you can see, but I just made these with a normal that fan's probably really loud, shoot. But I just made these with a normal sheet metal brake that you mount in your vise. Nothing fancy, and just made a template out of cardboard, and we were off and running. So I'll keep working on this and bring you guys back in when I have some more progress. Hey guys, just want to show you a sort of a snapshot of the progress in time. So as you can see, the first part of the transmission tunnel is in, and it's painted, and I got some heat material in here to keep some of the heat out of the floor, and the transmission is installed, hopefully, for the last time. So now I just have to finish modifying this floor here. I've got that insert panel I showed you guys earlier, so I'm going to make this removable in case I have to get in here later. Plus, this allows some really easy access to the mounting bolts and everything else that we have to deal with, and I have to replace this line real quick. And it'll allow us an easy path in to tap into the wiring for the reverse lockout and for the reverse lights themselves. And if we ever want to get in here and tap into this electronic speed sensor out, it's right there. All I have to do is remove this removable panel. So we're going to keep at it and see if we can't get that panel finished up tonight, and then we're going to shift over to the bracket for the slave cylinder, master cylinder, whatever you want to call it. Get that connected to the clutch linkage, and we'll keep going. So here we go. Okay guys, just a quick update on how everything's coming together. So that's the transmission in once and for all. As you can see, I got that removable panel up in there. The slave cylinder and everything's hooked up and connected in here. So this is roughly how you see everything. So this is what everything's going to look like installed. As you can tell, it's way longer than a traditional 3 or 4 speed automatic. Hence why you cut it into the floor so much. And I've started putting in the heat barrier, but I need to clean up the rest of the floor so it'll stick to the other parts here. But I've got it on top of the transmission for the most part, and that's how the American Powertrain crossmember looks when everything's said and done. So I've got to finish tightening up some bolts here and get a few other things together, but we're coming along real nice. And as you can see, here's the adapter for the speedometer cable. It'll come out of the transmission and then connect to your standard speedo if you're using the mechanical. And then when I get it back down on the ground, I'll show you guys what I did with the clutch and the master cylinder for that. So we'll keep tightening things up down here. One other quick thing, when it comes to putting the transmission fluid in, this is the way I like to do it. Obviously you can do it with a bottle and a funnel, or well, not really. As you can see, there's not a lot of room up here for that, but if you had a bottle and a hose, you can make that work. But I like to use these pressured filling units. This one's from Motive, but there's a lot of other companies that make one. Basically just like a sprayer, right? You pump that handle to pressurize it, and then there's a valve on the other end of that, and you can stick it in there and fill everything. It makes it a lot easier, especially in a tight application like this. So that's just something I like to do. You know, like I said, there's many different ways to do it, but it's just the way I do it. Alright guys, I figured I'd get in here and show you what I did with the hydraulic master cylinder for the throwout bearing. And see, I mounted mine underneath my brake vacuum booster, and you can see the line, hard stainless steel line that runs down to the transmission slave cylinder. And then I have this rubber hose that comes up to this remote reservoir, and that's where I keep all my fluid. Now, the way the American Powertrain kit works, you can set it up either way. You can have the reservoir right on top, or you can do remote like this. I did that because it gives me more clearance down there, and it's going to be way easier to fill up there than it is down there below. And as you can see, I've already got it all filled up, and the system is bled and ready to go. So on to the next thing. Well, it's been a while since we completed the install on this, but I wanted to give us as a family some time to really use the car and see what the pros and cons were. Like, to sort of answer the overall question, was this worth the time and money that it took to do it? And before I get too deep into it, the answer for me is yes. And that's for a whole host of reasons. And we'll talk about the cons first, and then we'll talk about the pros. So the cons are the transmission tunnel I made, while fancy and nice, was too big. I didn't think about clearancing for the bench seat. So what ended up happening is when I went to throw the interior in, I couldn't physically mount the front seat. So I ended up getting these spacers that you guys have seen everywhere, Summit, Jugs, where it moves it back from the original bolting provision. While those worked, it had some downsides, right? So it took a lot of room out of the second row because of the angled seats, so it was more difficult to put the rear-facing car seats in. Not a whole lot of leg room for the wife, and absolutely none for me. And then, while I had the benefit of extra leg room up here, it was a little bit too much for her. I couldn't move the seat forward anymore because of that clearance. So she found herself having to sit in the front part of the seat in order to reach the full throw of the clutch and the full throw of the accelerator pedal, given that we don't have cruise control in this. Oops. So while it could be worked around, it wasn't exactly ideal. So that's easy enough to take care of. I'm going to fabricate in a relief in the front part of the bench seat. It will just really help the structure, and then I'll be able to do it in such a way where the leather looks like it's supposed to do, or the vinyl, excuse me, looks like that's how it's supposed to be. So that's one downside. The other one is, I guess I must have messed up on the gear ratio that's in this car. The speedometer's way off, like way off, so I ended up using my phone in order to tell how fast I was going. I had to use 5th gear and 4th gear more often than I thought I would, just because of that, like, where you're normally the 45 to 55, 60 mile an hour range on a lot of side streets and local highways. whenever there was a grade or anything like that, it just started to bog down because of the weight and how low I was in the RPM band, given that 0.75 and half to 1 gear ratio, which is not a big deal. You downshift, you make do. The speedometer, obviously we could fix that issue with the GPS. I was hoping to use 6th gear a little bit more often to maximize fuel economy for that vacation. Oh well, you live and you learn. The only other thing that I would either change, not necessarily regret, but change, is I wish I would have gone with a speed sensing reverse lockout instead of just the solenoid reverse lockout. As you guys know, this one, I touch the brake pedal, energizes the solenoid, I can now shift it into reverse. The only reason I would change that is apparently the way I'm shifting, I don't touch the brake pedal a lot in a parking lot. I kept having to find myself, you know, either rolling forward or rolling backward to remember, oh yeah, I got to depress the brake pedal so that I can get into reverse. Overall, not a big deal. It just took some muscle memory on my part to relearn that. But that's really all the cons I can think of, and those, like I said, are easy enough to work around. The benefits, to me, far outweigh the negatives. I really enjoy shifting. It made this a whole different experience. It really has that muscle car feel with the big block and shifting through gears. Makes it feel a little bit more sporty. I can listen if I want to, you know, take things very quiet and conservative and economical. I can short shift. If I want to make it feel more muscle car, I can do that. The fuel economy, leaps and bounds beyond what it was before. I want to say the most I ever got out of this thing before was 12, and that was just cruising around 50, 55 on the side streets. Most of the time it was more like 8, sometimes 6. You know how it goes. This one, I put a few takes of fuel through it, and it's way better. The lowest I've gotten so far is 16. Most of the time it's at the higher teens. I think if I drove it a little bit better, as in, you know, not aggressively accelerating or hanging out in too low a gear just to listen to the exhaust, I could probably maybe eke out 20, 22 on the freeway, which for a big block muscle car wagon, to me that's pretty good, right? That's worth it. It makes the car less toy-like and more like a functional thing that we can certainly use to go on road trips and things like that. So for me, that's worth it. And it allows us to do the things we want to do as a family, to take this thing on road trips, maybe to take it to drag and drives. I've got those low gears, so I can't accelerate quickly, but if I want to cruise down the freeway, I can do that. So I might look at putting in a new rear end to deal with some of those issues we talked about. And I feel like there's other issues where I have to use a lower gear because of that, which negatively impacts fuel economy, because it's just too low in the power band to really make use of 5th gear when so now I have to use 4th gear, or I have to use 5th gear versus 6th gear, that sort of thing. But again, to me, still worth it. It's a lot of time and a lot of money to put into it, but this is something I'm going to keep for a long time. It's certainly not something I'm looking to flip. It's not going to sit in my garage anymore because the transmission's giving us issues, or because it doesn't get the fuel economy that we needed to get. It's something we can use all the time. My wife wants to go to the grocery store, she can take this. We want to go back home to see the family, we can take this. We want to go, you know, to Florida Keys again or wherever. Now this becomes a viable option, where before it just wasn't. You got to spend so much money with 100 kids on vacation. If I'm getting 6 to 7 miles per gallon, that's just one more thing where it sort of is the benefit of taking it worth the extra cost of driving. It doesn't have air conditioning yet, like the Excursion does that we have, you know. So there's things that I need to do to this to make it the all-around more ideal family travel vehicle. But this will certainly work in and around town now. It certainly works for the road trips to the right places, and we can enjoy the car like we've always wanted to. And for those reasons, again, those are personal reasons of mine, you'd have to make your own decisions, but for me, that makes it worth it. But as always, appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them in the box below, and we will catch you on the next one.